I used to pick up shifts as a food delivery driver back when money was tight. One night, my final night on the job, something happened that still wakes me up in cold sweats. The city felt especially cruel that evening. My scooter rattled down slick streets, weaving around potholes and drifters. Every ride through New York felt like rolling dice with fate. Eventually, my app pinged with an order from a hole-in-the-wall Chinese joint I'd never noticed before. The sign above the door buzzed weakly, and the smell of spoiled meat slapped me the second I walked in. A bald man with sunken cheeks shuffled out of the kitchen carrying a paper bag. He didn't smile, didn't blink. Just handed me the food and muttered, "Myers' house. Deliver before midnight. Don't knock. Leave it on the step." I half joked, asking if I should call the customer instead. He froze, his eyes flat and cold. "No, do not disturb Mrs. Myers, for your own good." Then he disappeared into the kitchen, leaving me standing there with my skin crawling. The GPS led me down a road I swear I'd never driven before. It stretched into silence, lined with skeletal trees. Finally, through the fog, a house emerged. Broken shutters, boarded windows, sagging porch. It looked abandoned, except for the faint glow of a single lamp. I stood there for a minute, my helmet still on, debating whether to just leave the bag and run, but some stupid part of me knocked anyway. The heavy door groaned open, revealing part of an old woman's face. One pale eye gleamed unnaturally bright. "Didn't he tell you not to knock?" she rasped. I stammered an excuse, saying I didn't want to leave her meal out in the dark. Her lips curled into something like a smile. "You're different from the others." Her skeletal hand brushed mine as she took the bag, her skin colder than stone. Right then, thunder cracked and the sky split open. Rain poured down in sheets. I cursed under my breath, realizing I'd be drenched before I even got back to my scooter. She tilted her head and said, "You can wait inside. Have a drink, perhaps." Against every ounce of better judgment, I stepped in. The inside was nothing like the crumbling outside. Firelight painted the room gold, and rich carpets softened my footsteps. She introduced herself as Eleanor, apologizing for the rain, then offered me dinner. Against my will, I found myself eating. She spoke casually about weather, about the city, all while her glowing eyes never left me. When I finished the last bite, a strange emptiness hollowed out my stomach. I muttered thanks and pushed the plate away. She smiled wider, showing crooked teeth. "Now, dessert." I laughed nervously and patted my stomach, saying I couldn't eat another bite. Her expression hardened. She reached for a long, sharp knife on the table. "Oh, but the dessert isn't for you, it's for me. Finally, a man foolish enough to knock." The room spun. Heat roared in my veins. My tongue felt heavy. The wine, I realized too late. She rose from her chair, her frail form twisting into something stronger, sharper. Her grin was hungry, her voice trembling with anticipation. "I'll savor you slowly." Panic surged. My eyes darted across the room until they landed on a heavy brass candlestick. As she lunged, I swung. The blow landed with a sickening crack. She collapsed but kept crawling, hissing, her hands clawing for me. Adrenaline carried me to the door. My vision blurred, but I managed to wrench it open and stumble into the storm. I didn't stop running until I saw headlights in the distance. I waved wildly before collapsing in the mud. When I woke in the hospital, doctors said I'd been drugged, traces of sedatives in my blood. But here's the part no one can explain. The restaurant where I'd picked up the order? Gone. Wiped from GPS, erased from the map. And sometimes when I ride past dark alleys in New York, I wonder how many of those underground restaurants are out there, quietly feeding more than just late-night cravings. I've been managing the Harrow Apartments for more than 10 years now. If you ask anyone in this part of town, they'll tell you the same thing. This building has a reputation. Not the kind you brag about. Delivery drivers whisper about it, claiming the elevator is cursed, or worse, haunted. I don't know about curses, but after everything I've seen, I can't deny something is very wrong inside that elevator. The stories go back a while, but the first real incident was impossible to ignore. A kid, early 20s, came in one night with a bag of takeout. The CCTV shows him stepping into the elevator, looking a little uneasy. A moment later, the doors shut, and he freezes as if hearing something. Then, God help me, he bursts into flames. Just like that. Instant combustion. He was gone before anyone could reach him. How does that even happen to a living person? The next time, it was an older delivery guy. He pressed the button, the doors closed, and he clutched his chest like something had squeezed the life out of him. He collapsed before the elevator even moved. Doctors said it was a heart attack. Maybe so, but the timing was too perfect, too deliberate. Then came the third. A woman delivering groceries. The moment the elevator doors slid shut, she started shrieking, staring at an empty corner like something was standing there with her. She clawed at the doors, begging to be let out. And then, she dropped dead. Cause of death, another heart attack. What's strange is these things only ever happen to delivery people. Not the residents, not visitors, just couriers. Not every one of them either. Only some. That pattern made me uneasy. And then there was Bruce. I still can't get his face out of my head. Bruce was young, full of energy, always joking around with me at the front desk. He'd laugh at the rumors, telling me it was just an old building with creaky wiring. The only thing that'll kill me here is if the cable snaps, and then you're going to jail, buddy, he'd joke. One evening, Bruce stepped into that damned elevator with a bag of food. The CCTV caught everything. At first, nothing seemed unusual. He pressed for the 10th floor, but the lift stopped after only a few seconds. He tried the buttons again, a little impatient, and then he just froze, like he'd fallen asleep standing up. But he wasn't asleep. His body lifted off the ground, hovering in midair for a few seconds before dropping. Bruce scrambled to his feet, smashing the buttons in panic. His eyes darted to the same cursed corner the woman had screamed at. His face twisted in horror. He started pounding on the doors, yelling. And then, for the briefest moment, the footage caught it too. A shape. A shadow that wasn't supposed to be there. Almost invisible. But I swear it was real. Bruce saw it. He locked eyes with it. Then the feed glitched, static filling the screen. When the picture returned, the elevator was empty. Bruce was gone. No one ever saw him leave. No body. No explanation. Just gone. The legend goes back to the building's construction during the Great Depression. They say work halted at the 21st floor when the money ran out. One of the workers, driven mad with hunger, leapt into the elevator shaft. They never recovered his body, buried under rubble when construction resumed years later. I think it's him. I think his spirit is trapped, starving, furious. And it doesn't just haunt the elevator, it feeds. That's why it goes after delivery people. That's why it waits for food. I've called inspectors. Every time the elevator works fine under their watch. It's like whatever lives inside knows when it's being tested. The tenants whisper their own theories. Some say the worker is trapped in a loop, reliving his final fall. Others believe it's a curse on anyone who carries food into that steel box. Me? I don't know anymore. But I do know this. The elevator is not safe, and yet I can't bring myself to leave this job. Part of me hopes I'll find a way to break whatever binds him. Or maybe I just need to know the truth, no matter how much it costs me. It was late, and I had just wrapped up another exhausting day at work. Too tired to cook, I ordered from my go-to sushi spot. Life had felt empty ever since Brock, my fiancé, passed away about 6 months ago. His death was never fully explained. Before it happened, he had become obsessed with strange rituals, convinced he could reach his mother's spirit after she passed. When he died, it left me hollow, as if someone had carved out a piece of me that could never be replaced. That night, when the delivery finally came, something about the man at the door immediately unsettled me. He clutched the bag tightly, almost refusing to let go, and stared at me with a gaze that seemed to cut straight through to me. His expression was cold, unreadable. Without saying a single word, he handed over the food and walked away. As I set the bag down on the counter, a folded piece of paper slipped out. My chest tightened when I read the words scrawled across it. "Brock is alive." My pulse hammered in my ears. Could that possibly be true? Before I could think, I threw open the door, but the delivery man had already disappeared into the night. I was torn between hope and terror. For nearly 2 weeks, I kept ordering the same meal every single night, praying he would show up again. But each time it was someone different. On the 13th day, I finally saw him again. I demanded, "What did you mean by that note? About Brock?" The man blinked at me in confusion. "I'm sorry, ma'am, this is my first time delivering to you. I don't know who Brock is. I'm just dropping off your food, that's all." His nervous tone only added to my panic. Was he lying? Playing some cruel trick? He quickly left after collecting the payment, but inside the bag, I found another note. "Brock can hear us. Meet me under the Mount Boulevard Bridge tomorrow at 6. The following evening, I stood shivering beneath the bridge, the wind cutting through me. I waited. An hour passed. No one came. Heartbroken and confused, I finally went home, only to find my apartment in chaos. My TV was gone, the walls stripped bare, drawers overturned. My home had been ransacked. Shaking, I called 911. 2 officers arrived, trying to calm me as they took my statement. Not long after, another unit reported finding a van in the parking lot, loaded with all my missing belongings, which meant the thief hadn't escaped. "Did you check every room?" one officer asked. I froze. In my shock, I had never opened the guest bedroom. They stormed the room while I stood frozen in the hallway. A gasp rang out, followed by the urgent crackle of a radio call. I forced myself to look inside. The man lay sprawled on the floor, drenched in blood, surrounded by shards of broken glass, dead. But what made my blood run cold was the mirror. Across the cracked surface, smeared in red, were the words, "It was Brock." The police looked at me differently after that, skeptical, almost accusing. But I barely heard them. My mind was spinning. Could Brock's spirit really have done this? That night, I stayed at my sister's house since my apartment was sealed off. Sleep didn't come easy. When I finally drifted off, I dreamed of him. Brock. He looked just as he had in life, warm eyes, that comforting smile. He reached for me, and just as I went to touch his hand, he vanished. I woke with tears on my face, but strangely calmer, as if Brock had tried to reassure me. When I walked into the bathroom, I nearly screamed. His reflection lingered in the mirror, faint but undeniable. He was smiling at me. I whispered through the tears, "I miss you, Brock." And then he faded. But deep in my heart, I felt it. He hadn't left me. He was still here, watching, protecting, in ways I might never understand.